welcome to Color Multimedia Enterprises. My name is Luke, also known as Tianery, and this is going to be a brand new series, and I am very excited to announce StoryDev 2. And I am going to be recording every single bit of StoryDev 2 development, including the editor, the engine, absolutely everything up until its release. Now, if I may be honest, I was inspired to do this sort of format by a person called Casey Muratori. He is still responsible for developing a game from scratch using this particular format of videos, but he's doing it on a stream, and I am a big fan of his format. And as a consequence, I've decided to do it myself. I'm not stealing any ideas from him, because obviously I'll end up with copyright infringement claims against me, and obviously I don't want to do anything of the sorts, obviously. But what I will be doing is doing stuff in Haxe, which is completely different to what he's doing, which is creating a game from scratch. Instead, in this, I am going to be creating StoryDev 2, an interactive story engine using Haxe and OpenFL. And because it is from scratch, that means I'm clicking on create a new project. And I am going to go to OpenFL project, and it is going to be in the location of the G partition. So let's type in StoryDev 2, like that, please. There we go. Alright, so there's going to be two different parts to StoryDev 2. If you saw my vlog, you will know that StoryDev 2 is going to be... Oh, of course. Hang on. As you can tell, I've got a Handmade Hero folder. G... Flash Develop complains sometimes. Might be a fix, I don't know. But anyway, StoryDev 2 is going to have two different types of things. It is going to be text-based, and it is also going to be visual novel-based. Now, I'm going to do the text-based version first, because that is going to be easier to implement. It's basically going to be a complete overhaul of the original StoryDev. If any of you have ever used it, then you will know that the original StoryDev was entirely text-based. Well, not entirely. You could add images, and the text you'd have hyperlinks that go from one passage to another, and then you also had the ability to add sounds, but the only true target that it could really work on was Flash. So that's not really very useful. So I want to make this next version to include the ability to actually implement things like being able to actually interact with the game instead of it not working on native platforms, because obviously we want to be able to create a game that exports to lots of different platforms. So that's what this game engine is going to do. So I've just cleaned up this main.hx file. I'm going to go into my project.xml. I'm going to set up a few things here just real quick. I'm going to make the background white to begin with. Company is not going to be Tianery. I really should not save that. Okay. It is going to be color ID. Package is in fact going to be StoryDev 2. I am going to add some Haxe libs. One of them is going to be HScript. another is going to be msignal. I am also going to add a few things here as well. So I want to be able to implement, so we want images so that we can test a few things. We want some sounds so that we can test a few things. Sounds, rename, sounds maybe. I'm going to include some file formats. It's going to be OGG mainly. Obviously this is just more of a test project, and obviously the engine as well. Okay, that'll do for now. Before we go straight in. Could not find path. Yes, I know. Let's add that folder, because otherwise it will complain. There we go. Alright, so let's go and bring up command prompt so that we use it at some point. I am going to close that command prompt. That was from a different tutorial. Okay. So I am going to add a folder first, and that is going to be text. Why? Because it's text-based. I'm not going to just type in text-based, because I think that would be a bit silly. I think the first things first is implement some sort of conversation system. So regardless of whether it's going to be text-based, visual novel, there's going to be some text in some way, shape or form, and it's going to be a conversation between one, two or more people, right? Maybe someone would like to create a game where a person talks to himself, maybe. So in that case, you would create a conversation based on just one character. Why you would want to do that, I really don't know. But maybe some people want to do that. So I'm going to add another folder here, core. And in this folder, I am going to create a new class, as you might imagine. Oh, it's done that stupid thing again. I wish it would stop doing that. You see, this is why I don't like using Flash Develop. So annoying. Let's open it back up. So open it back up. Hopefully it'll work. Add class. Yeah, it's now working now properly. Good. Right. I do not like Flash Develop. It needs to fix itself properly and stop doing that bug. Right. So in core, I want to implement a conversation. And what is that going to be? Well, it's going to first extend a sprite for obvious reasons. And we are obviously going to call the super so that we basically say, okay, we are going to initialize the sprite class before we attempt to use anything within this conversation and anything within sprite, any of its members. And in this conversation we are going to have, well, a dialog box. So at some point we are going to have a dialog box. So we are going to have a dialog box, which is going to be a dialog which we have not implemented yet, so it doesn't matter about that just yet. So what we want to do is obviously create this dialog, which is going to have some text. So let's implement that. That is of course also going to be a sprite. And in the sprite we are going to have a variety of things. So we are going to have text to display. So I'm going to put this as display text. It's going to be a text field. I am also, actually, you know what? I'll add my own project here as well. Haxe name, OpenFL GUI. It does make life a bit easier because I have implemented a thing called text control, which does some automated stuff for you, which is quite nice to have. So I don't want to rely too much on too many projects, however, because obviously for you guys at home, you probably don't want to have to install all of this stuff. So maybe, I mean, it's nice to have it. I'll probably just yeah, you know what? It's a tough decision. I'll implement it anyway, and I'll then ask you in the comments to leave your comments to say whether or not you actually like this. Okay, so private var, we are going to have display text, which is going to be a text control, which is inside OpenFL GUI. And how do you implement that? Well, it's display text. I'm going to create a new text control. The default value is going to be empty for the time being. We are going to have an embedded asset or name of the font to use. So this is going to be an embedded font, which is probably going to be Open Sans. So I'll probably include that with StoryDev 2 by default. And I should put myself on Do Not Disturb on Steam. That might be a good idea. Right, font style. So I'm just going to type in font style, which, by the way, is in openfl.gui.styles. By the way, most of this stuff has not been implemented yet, so I am getting there. I'm getting there, maybe. So we'll have a default there, embedded, and yes, it is going to be embedded. So it's going to have a default value of just simply being empty. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create, in fact, you know what? I'm going to do something clever. I am going to go into snippets and I am going to create a new snippet, which is going to be add property. What I'm going to do is use selected text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say private var, which is going to be selected text like that of a given type, whatever that type might be. I'm just going to do dynamic just to start with. Public var, again selected text. It's going to be get set by default, dynamic like that. This is one of the great things about Flash Develop. I have a love-hate relationship with this ID. And I'm going to have function get, and then once again selected index, text even, which is going to return the selected text. Yes, I know, it's silly. And then we're going to do the same for set as well. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. Actually needs to be like that as well. Val. That's going to be equal to val like that. Save. That's how it looks like. So let's just make sure that is correct. Cell text. Yeah. All right. Select the text. Word at cursor position. Actually, would that be better? Oh, that'd be fine. So, in order to implement this, what I would do is I would say text like this. I would then do that, then do Control B, then go up to add property, hit enter, and done. Isn't that amazing? Do you like that? Because I like that. Alright, so now we just get rid of this and we just do display text dot text when it eventually works. There we go. Like that. Display text dot text. Amazing. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is, well, we want to add it to the child. So I think for backwards compatibility reasons, what I will do is, just in case anyone wants to use legacy, I'll actually add an event listener for the events. So import OpenFL dot events dot event, and we are, what are you doing? Okay, we want event like that. Yeah, we are going to say added to stage. That is going to have in it like that, and in that init function we are going to we want to add the child display text because we've already initialized it. What we probably also want to do is remove the event listener. We're not going to call it again anyway. So we're just going to say like that. Probably want to do a check to see if the event listener is actually there. Added to stage. Just do it like that. Like that. Okay. So now what I want to do is actually display this text so that it is displayed in a specific position. So when we create our conversation, we want to be able to display this dialogue somewhere. Where do we want to display it? Well, obviously, first of all, we want to initialize it. So there's going to be a new dialogue like that. Again, we're going to do the add event listener. So let's do import OpenFL dot events, and I can eventually type events and add event listener. Again, for backwards compatibility, we are going to do exactly the same thing that we did just now. Private function, because it takes a parameter, and I did that incorrectly. And in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the has event listener event added to stage. If it has, then we are going to remove that event listener like that. Once we have done that, then we are going to actually initialize the dialog box. So the conversation is going to be located at 0, 0 when we initialize it. So what we want to do is we want to basically pass in a variable that basically says, okay, where do you want the dialog box? How big do you want it? Right. So maybe we'll actually have a place where we will basically say, okay, this text field to ensure that this text this dialog box doesn't go any higher than something else maybe. So we'll probably have scroll recs, which I'm pretty sure don't work right now. So maybe that's not a good idea. I actually went back a version from OpenFL because the latest version of OpenFL, as far as I'm concerned, 3.3.3 or is it 4? It was either one of those. The scroll recs just are completely buggers at the moment. It actually messed up RPGFL, believe it or not, when I was testing it the other day. The coding for the camera just completely did not work. But anyway, in this dialog box, we want to be able to resize it and obviously relocate it in the conversation. And obviously we'll do that on the editor side of things. Eventually we'll have that ability to do that, and obviously be able to do that here as well. So we want to implement it here. So I'm trying to think of the best way to do that. Obviously we want an X and Y position, so let's say, I think, okay, for the time being, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a child, and that is going to be dialog box, right? Let's just get this thing on the screen displaying correctly. So let's save that. And what I'm going to do in here is say graphics dot begin fill, and I want that to be, yeah, let's make the color black, and let's have the alpha 0.5 so that it has a bit of transparency. And then we are going to draw a rectangle from 0, 0, and the width and height is going to be, actually yes, of course, that's what we would pass it in as. We would just do that draw. Yeah. So let me just do a public function, which is going to be a draw. And I am just going to get rid of this. I am going to also create another function, which is going to be width. I'm going to do that amazing property thing again. So here we go, like that. That is going to be a float, because it takes a float. That is going to be a float. Let's create another one. No. That is going to be heights. Actually, that conflicts with the name of the thing, doesn't it? Let's make it actual width. Let's make it like that. So yeah, that's going to be a float. And the next one is going to be actual heights. Whoops. I don't know why it just does that for some reason. I really don't know why. Floats. Let's make that floats. Alright, so let's go down here and pass those variables in. So actual width and actual height, like that. Okay, so when we create it, we are going to call draw straight away. Once it's added to the screen, we're going to implement that. And when we set the values, we are also going to do an actual width, even actual width. That's going to equal val, and what I'm going to do is then do the draw call, and then just return actual width like that. We'll do the same for height as well. Okay. Like this. Draw like that. Okay. So anytime we set actual width and actual height, it is going to be redrawn, and that is that. So let's just make sure that everything is correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass in the variables that we want to make this. That's going to be a height like that. Alright, so now what we want to do is we want to set the private variables, not the local ones, to these. Actual width, save that. Now we don't actually have this font, so we can't actually test it right now. So what I'm going to do is in here, I'm just gonna copy and paste that, pass in width and height here. We haven't actually set a specific location for where we want this, so it's just going to be set at 0, 0 for the time being. But let's just add a folder here, which is going to be font, and I am going to go back to project.xml and implement that. Assets, path, assets, oops, font, rename, font. Okay, in your own time. There we go. So now we need the Open Sans folder, files, something. What did I just do? I meant to open that in a new window. Like that. There we go. Right. Open Sans should be somewhere. Is here. So let's copy over just regular for the time being. So I'm just going to put in Open Sans dash regular in there, and that is what it's called. So I am going to just put in dash regular like that. Save that. So now we just need to import that conversation and see if it actually works. So I am going to say var convo is equal to new conversation. I am going to set the width of the dialog box to be, I mean obviously it's just for testing, obviously these naming conventions are going to change at some point. So let's just say it's going to be 400 by 600. No, that doesn't sound right. 400 by 250. Let's just do that for the time being. And also, now that I think about it, you also need a way to change the dialog text from here as well. So let's do that. Dialog text. That is going to be, this is going to be removed. Don't need that. In fact, why can't I just do Control Shift Delete? That works. Alright. So this needs to be a string. This needs to be dialog box like that. Dot text eventually when we get it. Text like that. is going to be the same here as well. So now what we do is we just go back to here and we just say we add event listener for, again, backwards compatibility before we add it to the screen. So we're going to say import openfl.events.event, just in case for whatever reason we want to use legacy, because something doesn't work for whatever reason, and we want to check to see if something actually works in legacy. So we are going to do the same thing here, has event listener, event.add added stage. If so, we are going to remove it. Event.added stage, and it's like that, right. And in here I am going to put add child convo like that. Oh, that needs to be a private file, obviously. Conversation like that. Okay, so going back to our command prompt, we are going to do haxelib run openfl build project.xml Nico. I always test on Nico. It's the fastest, well, one of the fastest. I'm in the wrong folder. So we need to test that. Oh God. See what I mean? Okay. Haxelib set OpenFL. Why? OpenFL. I am using 3.3.0 for whatever reason. Would Lime 2.5.2 work with it, maybe? Haxelib set Lime 2.5.2. Let's try that. Nope. Oh. You know what? I'm just going to do a Haxelib upgrade. Just check everything. Although I would have preferred it if I just did Haxelib update OpenFL. Maybe things would have worked. But good news is this is a video recording. I'm not streaming, so let's just skip all this as a consequence of amazing video technology. Alright, so now that we have finally got back to this, I am going to now build it once again. Hopefully it'll work. Hopefully. And what do you know? Oh my God. Oh, it's still using 3.3.2. What? Current version. Obviously it didn't set the Haxelib set OpenFL 3.3.4. Did it do anything? Haxelib list. Yeah, it's using it. Weird. Haxelib. It's Lime set as well. Lime set is to the latest version. Okay. Yeah, it's still complaining about OpenFL version 3.3.2. What? Oh. I don't know sometimes. I really don't. Right, fine. I am going to use legacy, -d legacy. It will probably work in legacy anyway. Legacy probably works better than native at next anyway, so no offense, Josh. Great, of course. Okay, here we go. More stuff to fix. Right. You know what? For the time being, I'm going to get rid of this. Because I just want to get something on the screen. Stop messing about with this text control. So let's get rid of this. Let's use the text field instead. Copy that, put that there. Text field. That does not have any of that, which is annoying because there's a lot of things that does for me. So we are going to set the text to nothing. We are also going to say embed fonts is equal to true. As you can see, we have to do all this stuff, which is very annoying. Display text dot default text format, new text format. As you can tell, I am annoyed. Then we need to do assets. It's just so much work for so little. Assets dot, and then we want to get fonts. I want to get it font open sans dash regular dot ttf dot font name. I now also want, why does it keep doing that for? Display text, there we go. What else do we want? We want auto size, which means we need to now import. You see why I would prefer it if I just has everything working correctly in my library. Clearly I did not fix a few things. Text field auto size, is that not here? Are you just being stupid again, Flash Develop? I assume so. What's going to be left? Okay. I think that's everything. Oh, we want selectable to be false. Yep. Alright. So now, when we build, it should be fine. Hopefully. Never know. Oh, oops. Probably want to get rid of that. What did I just do that for? No, like that. There we go. Right. So if it works. Hopefully. Certainly looks like it. Looks like it's building now. Hopefully we'll get something on the screen soon. Trust me, Nico is faster than Windows Target. Just got to point that out there. Right, so let's go in here. Let's double click StoryDev 2.exe. See what happens. Okay, so we have this dialog box thing that's in the corner, as you can see, at a specific size. So that's mostly working. Actually, you know what? I want this to be 0.75, and now let's Let's say we want to display some text just for testing purposes. So in here I am going to say convo.dialog text is equal to, this is some text, and I probably want to make that color white as well. I'll probably implement color as well at some point. Alright, display text color. So this is just going to be a temporary work around for the time being. Go back to our command prompt, build until OpenFL or someone decides to fix this line.graphics Cairo font thing. Or maybe it's just something to do with Haxelib. I don't know. I don't know why that is. I don't know why it's pointing to 3.3.2. It's clearly set to 3.3.4, or was. For some reason it does not want to do that. Really doesn't. So weird. But anyway, let's test this. StoryDev 2. This is some text. So there you go. Alright, so I think that is going to be it for the time being. I have been recording for a little over an hour now, so that is going to be it for this video. And tomorrow I am going to continue doing some more tutorials and also obviously continuing with StoryDev 2. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In tomorrow's video on StoryDev 2 at least, we are going to add some customization to this text dialog box, and we are also going to have some customization in terms of repositioning it and stuff like that. Okay, so once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.